It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
All right, next question is from CBeamer12 on YouTube. He says, my wife and I are 38 and have roughly $800K in retirement savings, which is awesome, and a net worth of around $1.3 million. Would it be best to continue to build those army of dollar bills until age 40? Because remember, they're 38. At which point... And so then at 40, at that point, hire a financial advisor. So when should he hire this financial advisor? Because it looks like he's doing really well.
No, he's doing great. But I think it's not like, and I think this is the human component with being a financial mutant, is that I know achievers compartmentalize things, and we even put them in decades. We're guilty of it. I mean, we talk about, the 20s, you can conquer the world. The 30s is the messy middle. 40s, you go get more sentimental. So it's on us to a degree that we compartmentalize the decades. But you'll notice this, and I'll go ahead and break something for you that surprises people. A 38-year-old, when you cross into 40, you're like, wow, I thought when I crossed into 40, I'd feel different the next day.
Something magical was going to happen,
No, you feel the same. You put your pants on the same way. And I'm really hoping when I cross 50 that I get the same feeling as, wow, I don't feel any different than I did when I was 49. So I think, but that's just human nature, is that we compartmentalize, especially for achievers and people who are used to going through checklists of life of things that they're trying to get through. Here's where I think the decision of when to go pro. First of all, the answer on how you should be saving, don't skip out on the power of the financial order of operations. And there's two ways you can get into this. Is you can go to moneyguy.com/resources. We of course have the free deliverable, but then also don't forget learn.moneyguy.com. We have a deep dive on the course. And I would just encourage somebody like this. I mean, the first thing I heard was, I wonder if they're in hyperaccumulation, where they're diversifying not only their asset allocation, but also their tax location between the three bucket strategy, between after tax, tax deferred, and then even the Roth tax-free assets. So those are all things to take into account. But Bo, you always do such a good job that I don't want to take it away. I'll let you kind of share. There's really three key moments that hit you on when you ought to consider hiring a financial advisor.
Yeah, there are 3 times that we think are like immediate indicators that this might be the time. The first is the gravity of your financial decisions is pretty big. The decisions you're making could have a big impact on you and your family. Well, if you have a net worth of $1.3 million, I would say that you're there. If you have a portfolio of $800,000, I would say that you're there. A 10% uh-oh on $8,000, probably not going to change your life. A 10% uh-oh on $800,000, well, now you're talking about major income replacement, major lost savings opportunities. So the gravity's pretty big. So that's number one. Number two is, as we all age and as our financial circumstances change, they just naturally get more complicated. All of a sudden, our tax return went from taking us 30 minutes on April 14th to we got to start it on February 1st to file an extension to have a 180-page tax return. Just complexity has a way of finding us. And so you don't know all the things you don't know. Maybe your estate planning has gotten more complicated. Maybe your tax situation is different. Maybe you need different types of insurances, or the way that your compensation comes in is unique. And you're just like, man, life has gotten complicated. I'm an expert at my vocation. I can do the job that I do every day very, very well. But I'm not an expert on the financial stuff. I really need an expert who understands this, who does this for a living, to help me make sense of that. That's kind of the second thing. And then the third thing, and I think this all happens to us too, is you just run out of time, right? With all of your family commitments and work commitments and social commitments and community commitments and all these things going on, you get pulled in 1,000 different directions. And while man, I heard the guy saying I should be doing some loss harvesting and rebalancing, but man, I work all day and then the market's closed and I didn't get to it, and I know I need those estate documents, but I just haven't been able to find the time with an attorney. If you find yourself saying that over and over and over again, perhaps you need that third party to keep you accountable, to make sure that the things that should stay on the front burner don't get put to the back burner. So for most of our clients who reach out, for most of the folks who want to think about hiring a financial advisor, taking the relationship to the next level, they usually hit one, if not all three of those, and that's a real quick indicator. Now, one thing I think that's interesting is if C. Beamer is thinking about hiring an advisor, right? And they're just thinking, okay, well, how do I go pick one? How do I go find one? we have a great resource that speaks to that.
Yeah, if you go to moneyguy.com/resources, I think we have 8 questions that you ought to ask your financial advisor. There was also, I had a life experience thing that hit me the other day, is with this whole book publishing.
Yeah.
Is that this is a big life decision because you pour your life and soul in writing this thing. And I realized that, this is my first book. But it's kind of like this could be your first time reaching $1 million net worth, and you're trying to figure out how this translates into retirement, and you just don't know what you do. You can quickly figure out where you're out over your skis, and you're like, whoa, there's a lot more going on than I ever thought. And that's what I faced with this decision. And that's why I'm looking, I've decided to kind of go the path of, let's find somebody, this is their 1,000th book that they've kind of helped somebody bring to life, talking to attorneys and other things on intellectual property, so that I'm not trying to figure this out all over for the first time. And I feel like that's what happens to a lot of successful people, is that you are trying to reinvent the wheel yourself when there's people who have navigated this 1,000 times that can show you the ins and outs. That's the part where you do get some core efficiency. That's why, look, we love the abundance cycle. I can give you all the free information in the world because Bo hit it. Life gets complicated naturally. So yes, this is a financial planner is not just telling you which index funds to go buy, because you can go do that yourself. A good financial planner is going to help you with the tax preparation, figuring out, hey, how well is your CPA or your tax preparer doing? Not doing your tax return, but just kind of looking over the shoulder, make sure there's not missed opportunities, making sure the estate plan, the retirement plan, the Roth conversion strategy. These are all things, the risk assessment with your insurance, all this stuff is sitting out there. And the investing is only a small component. So when I go out to the forums, whether it's FIRE, whether it's Bogle, the Bogle heads and so forth, they focus only on the investment. And I'm like, that is just a small sliver of what a good financial planner will do for you. So don't underestimate what your blind spots or what you don't know, because it's just too big of a decision to screw it up.
And look, if you want to talk to one of those folks and figure out, hey, is this something that makes sense for me? I would encourage you, go to check out aboundwealth.com, moneyguy.com. You can go to the Work With Us page, connect with an advisor to feel like if maybe that's something that makes sense for you right now in your financial situation.